All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. Bahashem is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The YAHAWASHI is the Holy Spirit. And those are the true names of the Father and of the Son. YAHAWAH, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI. The YAHAWASHI is the Holy Spirit. I'm the brother YAHAWAH with the GMS Chicago branch out here in Chicago. Come back at you, with another lesson, a continuation, of who brought the slaves to America. Just deep dive into the book. This is part 2 of 3. Deep dive into this book. I read the first 9 to 10 pages. I just got done, with 11 through 20. Reading pages 11 through 20. And it's a lot of information, to come out this book, who brought the slaves to America. But I'm going to just jump straight into it because it's a lot of information to bring out because this book, who brought the slaves to America, it exposes a lot, behind the scenes of the transatlantic slave trade, who was really behind it. These Amalekites, who we know to be the small hats over there in the land of Israel today. And this book really exposes all of that, because we're coming into the time where YAHAWASHI, is exposing these damn devils for, the atrocities they have done to our people, not only to our people, but the world, starting with these Amalekites, these small hats who control the whole world. So this is page 10. I'm going to just read a few passages. I'm going to just jump into the precepts. I'm going to zoom in because there's a lot of information to come out. It says, this is page 10, by the way, of who brought the slaves to America. It says, in the women's quarters, the same condition prevailed. Women gave birth. And Lord willing, I hope you brothers and sisters can see, as I read it, I tried to, take the best picture I possibly could. It says, in the women's quarters, the same conditions prevailed. Women gave birth to children lying pressed closely together. It says, the younger Negro women were constantly raped by the captain of the captain and the crew, resulting thereby a new type mulatto as they came to America, right? And we know what's that? These slave masters will have sex with the Negro woman, the so-called Negro woman, which was what Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. They did the same thing to the Northern Kingdom, these Edomite slave masters putting their seed into our women, And a lot of these babies that were to be born were Edomites, because we know that I believe that's Numbers. This is I believe it's Numbers 1:18. That child is determined by the seed of their father. But just to continue, that's another lesson for another day. It says in Virginia or any of the other southern port cities, the slaves were transferred to the land and immediately sold. A regular auction would take place following the method of purchase in so-called Africa. We know that land to be biblically the land of Ham. It says the highest bidder obtained the ware. In many cases, due to the incredible filth, some of the so-called blacks became ill during the sea voyage from Africa to America. They became unemployable. In such cases, the captain accepted any price. It was rare to dispose of them, for no one wanted to purchase a sick so-called Negro, right? Because we're not African, Even the so-called white man know that. Even these, Bible scholars know that. We're Israelites. The so-called white man. You had the Africans. You had the Ishmaelites. Basically, they came together to gather up our people, who are what? The Israelites, and they sold us into slavery. They sold us to the so-called white man. And I'm gonna get that in Joel 3. It says it was rare to dispose of them, for no one wanted to purchase a sick Negro, a so-called Negro. Therefore, it is not surprising that the so-called Jewish, they go back to Amalek, Ish pertaining to. That's why they call themselves Jewish. It says at the coup, doctor senses a new form of revenue. They purchased the sick Negro for a small sum, then treated him and sold him for a large sum. On occasion, the captain would be left with a few Negroes for whom he did not find a buyer. In that case, he returned to Newport and sold them to the Jews for cheap domestic help. In other cases, the so-called Jew owner of the ships took them over. This is why the city of Newport and its surroundings had 4,697 black slaves in the year 1756. It says slavery did not extend to the North. Moreover, in many of the North American colonies, slavery was strictly forbidden. Georgia came under discussion, likewise also Philadelphia, and again it was the so-called Jews who go back to what? Amalek, they stole our nationality. Those Ish people over there in the land of Israel today are what? They go back to Amalek, the small heads, they're Edomites. It says, who managed to loophole, which had given them freedom following the Revolutionary War. So they schemed to make slave trading legal. One had put the, Salaki, it says, one had but to read the names of which persons living in Philadelphia who were requesting the elimination of existing laws, read the slavery dealing, Salakia. It says, they were the Jews, Sandiford, Lay, Woolman, Solomon, and Benazet. That explained it all. But let us turn back to the slave ship Abigail. Because like I said, a lot of these, small hats, they financed the slave ships. A lot of their names, were back in these different slave ships, It says it's captain, his captain, and we are reading from his ships, did a profitable business. He sold all of his Negroes in Virginia, invested some of the money in tobacco, rice, sugar, and cotton, and went on to Newport, where he deposited his wares. We learn from Captain Freeman's books that the Abigail was a small ship and could only accommodate 56 people. He managed, however, to clear from this one trip $6,621, which he in turn delivered to the owner of the ship, one Aaron Lopez. And Aaron Lopez is a name in this book that you're going to hear of quite often. But I want to jump into the precepts real quick, because all these different things, that we're reading about, Salakia, all these different points that we're reading about in this book, Salakia. Let me actually close this. I don't know what this is. Satan. Con. Let's get this real quick. There's a lot of points that you can read about in this book. It's noted in the Holy Scriptures. This is prophecy, Let's get this real quick, because the Lord is exposing this damn devil for the devil he truly is. This is the book of Luke 12. Let me pull up the whole chapter. This is the book of Luke 12:2. It says, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which ye have spoken in the ear in closet shall be proclaimed upon the housetop. So this is the Lord exposing all the secret dealings of Esau Edom, these small hats, because for the longest, this information was hidden. Who financed the slave ships, who was behind, the transatlantic slave trade. And Amalek played a major part in the transatlantic slave trade, man. These small hats, their biblical nationality are what? The Edomites. They took our nationality. They called us African. They call us these different proverbs and bywords, to what? To have our identity under wraps. But the Lord is basically, doing a switcheroo, man. The Lord is exposing this damn devil for who he truly is, man. Because we know that what? Amalek got rich, off the transatlantic slave trade, man. So rich that what? We have these different elite families in power right now, man. The Rothschilds, the DuPonts, these different rich families that goes back to Amalek, which are who? Edomites, The small hats, man. They control your media, they control your government. And how they do it, how did they, get control of these different things, man? Because they got rich off all people doing the transatlantic slave trade, making big money off Jake, And I'm going to read some more of that passage. This is the book of Habakkuk 2:15. It says, warn to him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken, also that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Verse 16, thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi's right hand shall be turned unto thee, a shameful spewing shall be on thy glory, right? Because a lot of it's the information is coming out, man. The atrocities that these small hats did, to our people, man. And it's, starting, the world is starting to take notice, man, that, the world is calling these devils out, man. The different historical facts that these devils tried to hide, man, different things of that nature, trying to, these small hats trying to put themselves up in a positive spotlight, man. What the Lord and is exposing this devil from the blood he shed, upon our people. The whole world is noticing what's going on, man. The Lord is bringing it out, because it came a time where the so-called white man was looked at as the pinnacle of who you should be in this society, man. But what? No, everybody is looking at this devil as the devil as he is, man. Everybody is calling this devil out, man, for his murderous history towards our people, man, and towards the whole world, in fact, man. Calling these small hats out of, the part they played in the transatlantic slave trade, these different facts that we can read about, man. The Lord is exposing this devil, man. That's Isaiah the 47th chapter. The Lord is, raising a skirt up on this place, man. The Lord is exposing this place, starting with Amalek, man. But let's get some more information out. This is page 16. It says, it is equally important to remember that these poor black creatures had to lay in human excrement for the entire trip. Right. That's those feces and different things of that nature, man. A lot of our people was catching diarrhea because a lot of our people was sickly, making a trip from the land of Fam, which is Africa today, to the Americas, man. A lot of our people had to lay in their own shit. It says, think of it, no wonder sickness and diseases took such a high toll. It says, remember the figures, approximately 110 million so-called black people were captured and removed from their homeland and so-called Africa, and our homeland is not Africa. We we basically dwelled in Africa for a point in time, but our homeland is not Africa, it's Israel, because if you understand the history, we were fleeing Roman persecution, during 70 AD, and we ran in, the west part of Africa. It says, only 11 million of these so-called black slaves reached the colonies alive because, as I had mentioned in my last lesson going into the book, who brought the slaves to America, a lot of our people was jumping overboard, and one fact that I, did forget to mention was what a lot of our people, was being eaten by sharks, things of that nature, jumping overboard, even the sharks, to this day going that same direction from, the meals that they had off our people, It says in the so-called Jews still think about the Germans and Hitler, and about 6 million small hats were exterminated during World War II. This is the greatest lie ever perpetuated upon the people of the world, whereas the story of Salak, it says, whereas the story of the poor so-called black slaves is documented with truth. The evidence is still available for the people of the world to see. It says the Carnegie Institute of Technology is located in Pittsburgh, PA. As this document is distributed, eventually reaching the hands of the Jew, the so-called Jews, the evidence will probably be removed and destroyed until finally all documentation is removed, which is damaging to the so-called Jew. It says the Jews have been engaged in this practice for centuries. Truth, however, truth which bears fact cannot remain covered or hidden forever, and more truths are being disclosed by those of us who intend to free America of these sons of the devil, the so-called Jews. All right, man, the Lord is exposing this devil, man. I mentioned Isaiah the 47th chapter, that shameful spewing, man. The world is, finding out these different facts about the small hats, that they're not really the true people of the Lord, man. A lot of these people is calling these devils out, and I'm finna jump into a big part, which I found interesting, which I'm gonna get right now, man. Things of Aaron Lopez, that's a name. If you get this book, if you read this book, thoroughly, Where I'm at right now is page 19. But you will see, a small hat Aaron Lopez pop up a lot, man. How they had connections to the Rothschilds. Let's get that actually. Salakia, bear with me for a second. This is page 12. It says the fact that Aaron Lopez had control over more than half of the combined deals in the colonies of Rhode Island with Newport, it is well known. It's a well known fact that well known Rabbi Morris A. Gustein in his book The Story of the So-Called Jews and Newport attempts to remove these facts, maintaining that there is not any evidence that the so-called Jews were connected with the slave trade. Right, that's his devil trying to cover up his tracks, man. But what the Lord is exposing this devil, man. As I read in that Luke, man, nothing can be nothing hid is basically along the lines of everything that's basically hidden in the darkness is going to come to light, man. It says maintaining that there is not any evidence that the so-called Jews were connected with the slave trade. It is therefore imperative to prove that the so-called Jews was indeed connected with the slave trading, especially as since the rabbi insisted they had made great contributions and how very blessed their residence became for the city of Newport. Surely Morris A. Gustein will grant us permission to present the facts which he was unable to find. And what you can see, which I'm going to actually bring up right now, bear with me for a second. This is a big part right here. It says the following is a partial list of the slave ships owned by so-called Jews. And I'm finna list down this list. I'm gonna jump back into the precepts. It says Abigail by Aaron Lopez, right? A known name, a name that you'll constantly see as you read this book. Abigail, these are the different slave ships owned by the small hats, Amalek, which, call themselves Jewish today. It says Abigail by Aaron Lopez, Moses Levi, and Jacob Franks. The Crown by Isaac Levy and Nathan Simpson. Nazal by Moses Levi, Four Sisters by Moses Levi, Anne and Alyssa by Justice Bosch and John Abram, Prudent Betty by Henry Kruger and Jacob Phoenix, Hester by Mordecai and David Gomez. Right, so everything you see the quotations around are slave ships. It says Hester by Mordecai and David Gomez, Elizabeth by David and Mordecai Gomez, Antigua by Nathan Marson and Abram Lyell, Betsy by W.M. D. Wolfe, Polly by James D. Wolfe, Whitehorse by James D. Swevitz, Expedition by John and Jacob Roosevelt, Charlotte by Moses and Sam Levy and Jacob Franks, Caracoa by Moses and Sam Levy. Right, so these are different slave ships, basically with finance, and basically these small hats had their names back in these different slave ships, the slave ships that they own, which proves what? That, that these small hats had a big part to play in this transatlantic slave trade, man. But let's get into the precepts. Right, so the Lord is exposing this devil on a large scale, man. This is the book of Micah 2:1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When morning is light, they practice it is because it is the power of their hand, right? That's what these devils do, behind the scenes. They come away to destroy our people, make money off our people, and keep our people in that oppressed, state, to make sure our people don't come back into who they are. These, starting with these small heads, because they control the whole world. They have the power to pass these laws. They have the power to put these different things into effect. Verse 2 says they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house and even a man in his heritage. And right, and that's what happened, man. Starting with the Northern Kingdom, man. And they take them away by violence, man. Our people coming over here, doing the transatlantic slave trade. A lot of our people being killed just from a boat ride alone, man. Our people being sick by these different illnesses. Esau Edom. Showing his, violence against our people, Esau Edom, starting with these small has taken different lands from our people, things of that nature, man. But this was a scripture I actually wanted to bring out from the last lesson I did. This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 48. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahawah shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Right. In the last lesson I showed, you go back and watch it. Part 1, of 3 of who brought the slaves to America. I showed a picture, of the different, the chains that our people was bound to, the neck, the slave neck collars, the mouth muzzles, that force fed our people, as I mentioned before, the yoke of iron that went upon our neck, and that's what happened during the transatlantic slave trade, man. And Amalek played a big part in that, as I read in that Deuteronomy 28 and 68, the Lord, thy power shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, man, and I did, and I just read the different, slave ships, owned by these small hats, But let's continue. This is the book of 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. All right, that falling away has already happened, man. When our people lost their nationality, our people being shipped into slavery, being shipped to different, parts, around the world, mainly here in America, which is going to be, where the main place of salvation is going to be is here in America, which is Babylon the Great. But that falling away came, man. What's that? Jeremiah 17 and 4, as I mentioned in my last lesson. We shall discontinue from the heritage, discontinue from our heritage, man. That's ultimately what happened. It started with Amalek, being, financing these slave ships, back in their names, back in these different slave ships, bringing over us over here, to be sold. Us, we couldn't read the Bible. We couldn't read at all. We couldn't talk in our native language. The native language, which is what? Hebrew. All that was beaten out of us. That was the falling away. Us losing our nationality. And that happened with us, coming over here into slavery, man. It says, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, right? Who is the son of perdition? These Edomites, starting with these small hats, but the whole, nation of Edom, the son of perdition, right? The son of destruction. It says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahawah, or that is worshipped, so that he is as Yahawah, sitteth in the temple of Yahawah, showing himself that he is Yahawah. Right, and that's what these devils, do, man. Because what they have this God complex, man, that they're trying to reach, and that's ultimately going to happen by the way of this MOTB, man, by C-hipping everybody. But that's another lesson for another day. I want to stay on topic, but it's one more piece of evidence that I want to bring out. See if I can find it. Bear with me for a second. Lord willing, I can find it. I know I had it on deck somewhere. Bear with me. I'm going to read page 11. It says, the staggering amounts of money acquired by the Jew ship, the so-called Jew ship owners and slavery dealers is best illustrated when we emphasize the many years in which the sale and purchase of human flesh was practiced prior to 1661. All of the colonies had laws prohibiting slavery. It was in that year that the so-called Jews had become powerful enough to bring about the repeal of these laws, and slavery began in earnest. Right, so it was the small hats, man, that basically had these different laws come into effect, man, to basically make slavery legal, man. Amalek was behind everything, man. It says it doesn't take a so-called Jew long to discover what his brothers are doing to the group of so-called Jews settled in Charleston, South Carolina, where they set up distilleries for making rum and whiskey, they too learned that they could trade with the natives on the west coast of so-called Africa for ivory, and several ships were purchased and sent to Africa, trading the usual glass, beads, and other cheap ornaments for ivory, which, however, took up by but little space on board ship. It occurred that these so-called Jew traders that they could supply the plantations in the south, Salakia, in the south with black ivory needed under swampy and malarial conditions, with European labor could not tolerate without sickness, and which would not only fill the holes of their ships but bring enormous profits. This same group had earlier tried selling Indians as slaves, but they found them completely unsatisfactory, as the Indians would not tolerate this type of work. Because the thing was, with Gad and Reuben, when Esau, Edom, tried to make slaves out of them, what they rather accept death than actually work under, these Edomites. And they found, the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, basically, more acceptable of being slaves than, Gad and Reuben of the northern kingdom. It says, thus, another segment of the slave trading had become active and profitable out of Charleston. So Carolina, several shiploads of black slaves were sent by the Dutch West Indies Company to Manhattan. During this time, there were a number of so-called Jew plantation owners established in the West Indies, and two so-called Jews, Arger and Sailor, with strong Rothschilds connections in Spain. And right, we know the Rothschilds today to be a high-class elite family, in this world, and they're small hats, What? Just to let you know, man, that a lot of these different families that we know of today, these small hats, they got rich, by the way of slavery. This Jake suffering, man, And these are the people who control the world today. And the Rothschilds being at the top of that, man. It says formed in a agency called a Cinto, or Cinto, if I'm saying that correctly, which later operated in Holland and England. It was through these connections that the so-called Jews in Holland and England exerted influence in both of these countries, cooperated in helping the so-called Jews provide black slaves for the colonists. Right, so Amalek played a big part in everything, man. So much information came out of these 9 pages alone, man. It's not a long book at all, but it's about 30 pages long, 30 or 31 pages long. I'm almost done with it. Part 3 is coming soon, Lord willing. But just to let you know that, Amalek played a big part, in everything. But getting ready to wrap the lesson up, I got 2 more scriptures. This is the book of Joel 3:1. It says, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, right, the southern and the northern kingdom. I read it in that second Thessalonians, man, that's the falling away first. And right, that happened, man, during the times of 70 AD when we were pushed out, our homeland, us being, pushed into, the west coast of Africa, us, fleeing to the west coast of Africa to the point, where we were so, us going through the transatlantic slave trade to the point of us, losing our heritage, man, didn't know, not knowing who we were, our heritage being beaten out of us. It says, I'm going to jump down, verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? If ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because as I read in Psalms, the 83rd chapter, in the last video of Who Brought the Slaves to America, part 1, these different heathen nations teamed up to take us down, man. We were being traded, one to another from these heathen nations, man. It says, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own hand, right? And that's going to happen soon, man. The Lord is going to turn the tables, man. We're going to be selling them into captivity amongst our people, man. They're going to have the curses on them. They're going to be going to captivity. That's Isaiah 14:2, man. They're going to be our servants and handmaids. It says, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. All right, and that's ultimately what had happened, man. Us being sold to the so-called white man. Amalek started with Amalek, financing the slave ships, had their names behind these slave ships, financing these different slave ships that I read, in the passage, one of the slave ships being called Abigail, and one slave ship being called King David, which is complete blasphemy, man, Verse 7, it says, behold, I will raise them out of the place whether you have sold them, and return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters in the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the savings to a people far off, for the Lord YAHAWAH has spoken it. Right? Because all these things is going to happen to these small hats, starting with these small hats of Esau, Edom, starting with these Edomites, period, man, to the rest of these nations. They're going to be our servants and handmaids, But let's continue. I want to read this last scripture. This is the book of Psalms 144 and 11. It says, rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. Right. These Edomites are those strange children, man. These Edomites starting with these small hats, man. Because the different things they do, because what? Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, man. They pass these unrighteous decrees, man. Use a different way to oppress our people. Have our people in subjection, to try to keep our people in subjection, to make sure our people don't come back into their nationality, man. All this is being set up by design, man. Esau, Edom, these small hats, starting with these small hats, these Amalekites, financing these slave ships, man. Amalek has a lot to pay for. The Lord is, as I read in the last chapter, man, Lamentations, Lamentations 4, verse 21 and verse 22, man. The Lord is going to get these devils, man. And we're in that time, man. These devils is losing the grip on their kingdom, man. But I'm going to end it off right there. That's part 2. Lord willing, I'm going to come back with part 3 soon, Lord willing. But I want to end up by giving all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Shalom and Kwam Yasharallah.